Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Kane, and today I'll be presenting some of the key findings of the paper Ex Ante Economic Impact Assessment of Genetically Modified Banana-Resistant Xanthomonas wilt in the Great Lakes region of Africa. Since their introduction, GM crops have been proven to increase crop yields, reduce poverty rates, and improve food security. Now, research and development efforts are attempting to bring GM bananas to the Great Lakes region of Africa, which will be referred to throughout this presentation simply as the GLA. This region consists of Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Burundi, Rwanda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, which will be referred to from here on out as the DRC. Each of these countries experience varying levels of risk from Xanthomonas campestris PV mucocerum, also known as BXW or XCM wilt, which is a disease that can significantly impact local banana production and the welfare of those who rely on bananas as a staple food or a source of income. It was first identified in the region in 2001 and was reported on plantations as early as 2005. The proposed improved variety known as GMB-BXW is highly resistant to wilt, but attitudes towards GM products may prevent significant adoption throughout the region. However, data shows that there are great potential benefits to both consumers and producers should adoption occur quickly. This paper has two main objectives. Firstly, to gather a better understanding of the impact of the adoption and consumption of GM banana varieties in the GLA, and secondly, to evaluate the potential economic impacts of wilt-resistant GM cultivars. So as stated previously, farmers became aware of BXW in 2001, but by 2010 and 11, the majority of banana plantations in the GLA were experiencing infection. As you can see on the figure presented, losses were highest in the DRC at 83% of annual production loss, followed by Uganda at 71%. Kenya experienced the least amount of production loss at roughly 39% of product lost annually. Current management practices of bud and infected stem or mat removal are proving to be ineffective. Much of this failure is actually attributed to infection risk after new planting material is introduced. Given these huge losses with so little improvement, 83% of survey respondents, including farmers, key informants, and economic agents, supported the development of GMB-BXW. 95% of this group reported that they believed in potential benefits such as increased yields, increased income, and increased food security. However, respondents were still expressing concerns regarding genetic modification. Adoption is incredibly important as a strategy to limit the spread of BXW, restore deteriorated plantations, and improve crop income through increased yields. As indicated by the pie chart at the top of the slide, 65% of farmers sampled claimed that they would adopt GMB-BXW immediately. The 19% stated that they would adopt later only after learning about the effects and performances of the product against XCM wilt. Further, 90% of farmers said that they were willing to pay for GMB-BXW planting material should they make the decision to adopt, which could be costly. 73% of farmers stated that adoption of GMB-BXW would cause them to establish new plantations, which is also incredibly expensive. Given all of these factors, expected minimum adoption rates are actually very hopeful. I'll direct your attention to the graph on the bottom right of this slide. Kenya is expected to see the lowest rate of adoption at only 21%, while the DRC is expected to reach a 70% adoption rate. This is correlated to the final damage level experienced by each country. So given that Kenya experiences production loss to XCM wilt at a lower rate, it makes sense that their adoption rate would be lower. It's not as necessary for Kenya to adopt as it is for the DRC. So the adoption of new varieties is largely driven by consumer demand from beginning to end. This study surveyed farmers rather than consumers, but seeing as banana production in the GLA is used for both food and income, consumer perceptions were deduced from the farmers. Interestingly enough, even given the high rates of economic losses to XCM wilt, 41% of farmers still preferred the local variety on the basis of better taste and higher cooking quality. However, 35% of farmers stated the opposite. So what attributes were consumers actually considering? Well, while consumers did inquire about the variety at the time of purchase, about 60% of the time, it didn't actually impact the purchase decision. Instead, size and the number of fruits on the bunch, as well as quality and taste, were the final deciding factors. Despite the general negative attitudes against GM crops in the region, 56% of farmers and traders surveyed perceived that consumers would not intentionally select against GM bananas given its possession of desired consumption attributes. While farmers and urban consumers are more likely to prefer the local variety to the improved variety, 7% of those surveyed still stated that people would not consume GM bananas at all due to negative attitudes towards GM crops. By enhancing the quality or taste of GM bananas or selecting for attributes closer to that of the native variety, developers could improve attitudes towards consuming the improved variety over the local variety. If BXW were left uncontrolled, huge economic losses would be incurred to the GLA as a whole. In 15 years, without any controls at all, Uganda, which is the second most affected country, would lose 5.6 billion US dollars. Control through current management practices only slightly reduces economic losses. In the same time frame, Uganda will still lose 3.1 billion US dollars. At an annual infection rate of 8%, production losses would amount to 2 million tons across all 6 countries. However, farmers in mildly affected countries like Kenya could benefit from uncontrolled BXW spread. With decreased output and increasing prices, they could see significant economic gains over the first several years of unfavorable conditions. On the other hand, consumer economic welfare would decrease with the rise of prices. Although with adoption of GMB BXW, benefits would be highest in countries with the highest final damage levels. So this would be Uganda, the DRC, and Burundi. Subsequently, both return on investments and benefit cost ratios will be highest in these countries, indicating that investment in research and extension programs of GM bananas have the potential to generate a significant stream of benefits. Across all countries, consumers will benefit twice as much as producers and farmers. To conclude, this paper found that GMB BXW is an economically viable solution to stopping the spread of XCM wilt and preventing economic losses. Due to profound inefficiencies in current management practices, XCM wilt has perpetuated significant damages across the GLA. Bananas provide food security and income to millions, so the adoption of GM bananas could improve their lives and welfare. The biggest obstacle at this point is not the attitudes or preferences of consumers, but GLA governments that still restrict the use of GM crops. However, once GMB BXW is available on the market, projected adoption could reach 100% in just 2 to 10 years, given a bypass on these restrictions. This would incur millions in benefits for both producers and consumers due to increased yields and therefore, respectively, income and price reductions. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you all enjoyed.